If this old tractor doesn't start today, the farm's done. Crops will rot. Debts will win. And everything her family built for generations gone. She's young, overwhelmed, and out of options. Then comes a man, homeless, quiet, a veteran with calloused hands and a steady gaze. He doesn't promise anything. He just gets to work. But by sunrise, something no one expected happens. A state governor's motorcade rolls up the dirt road, tires crunching, windows tinted. Why here? Why now? Some call it fate. Others call it faith. If you believe kindness still changes lives, comment believe below. Autumn winds carry the scent of harvest and quiet sorrow. Down a forgotten stretch of Maple Hollow Road, a man walks alone. Jonas Riggs Carter, tall, weathered, wrapped in a coat 2 sizes too big and 20 years too old. Each step is steady, though the weight he carries is invisible. Not on his back, but in his chest. 3 tours in Syria. He was the guy they called when engines stalled under enemy fire. A combat mechanic with magic hands, hands that could fix anything, except the war within. He returned home to parades, then paperwork. Medals, then migraines. The VA meant well, but appointments got missed, shelters ran out of beds, and the system ran out of time for men like him. Diagnosis: PTSD. Treatment: a maze of bureaucracy. Some days he made it to group therapy. Most days he didn't. So he disappeared. Quietly. City to city. Town to town. He never begged. Just walked. Helped where he could. Left before anyone noticed. A ghost with a wrench and a name no one remembered. The only thing he's never let go of? That old mechanical toolkit. Scuffed. Rusted. But inside, precision instruments all labeled, all in place. He calls it his compass. Because even when he's lost, those tools give him direction. He's not dangerous. He's not lazy. He's just tired. Tired of explaining. Tired of surviving instead of living. Tired of remembering sandstorms, radio chatter, and the sound of things breaking. But today feels different. There's something in the wind, some pull he can't explain. A distant cough of an engine in distress, a vibration only he seems to notice. And so he follows it, not toward war, but maybe toward something else. That distant vibration, it wasn't just in his head. It was real, mechanical, misfiring. Riggs followed the sound down a gravel path that curved past a broken fence, leading to the edge of a worn-down field in Greenwood Valley. The land stretched wide, gold and green, trembling under the breath of an approaching storm. There, struggling beneath the hood of a tractor that had clearly seen better days, stood a young woman. Mid-20s. Exhausted. Dirt on her jeans. Determination in her jaw. Talia Marin. 28. Inheritor of a burden she never asked for, her late father's farm. Crops half-harvested. Forecast worsening. One working tractor, now stalled and silent. She slammed the hood in frustration, stepped back, hands on hips. Her eyes blinked away tears, but her posture dared them to fall. Riggs stopped a few feet away, respectful, quiet. "Riggs, gently, you need some help?" She turned, startled. Took him in, weathered coat, sun-beaten face, hands rough with grease and time. A moment of silence passed. She hesitated, but something about him didn't feel threatening. Just tired. Real. "Talia, you know engines?" He gave a single nod. "Used to." Still cautious, she stepped aside, giving him space. Riggs approached the tractor like it was a living thing in pain. One hand rested on its metal side, like greeting an old friend. The other opened his toolkit with precision, reverence. Talia crossed her arms and watched, unsure whether to hope or brace for disappointment. Riggs didn't promise anything. He didn't talk much. Just listened to the engine, the wind, the silence between spark plugs and timing belts. It wasn't just a machine. It was a lifeline. And something in him recognized that kind of urgency. That kind of fight. The engine sat open like a confession. Riggs worked with quiet focus, every movement measured, deliberate, like he was listening more than fixing. Talia watched him closely. There was something about the way he handled the tools. It wasn't just skill, it was memory, maybe even reverence. She didn't say it out loud, but she wanted to believe he could bring the old machine back to life. That belief lasted exactly 2 more minutes. A cloud of dust kicked up at the far end of the dirt road. The rumble grew louder, too loud, and then a battered red pickup rolled into view, chrome grille flashing in the afternoon sun. Behind the wheel was Frank Dobson, local mechanic, big voice, bigger ego. He barely parked before stepping out, sunglasses perched on his forehead, chewing a toothpick like it owed him money. Frank, laughing, "You let him touch this thing?" Talia stiffened. A few nearby farmhands had gathered at the sound of Frank's arrival, men who knew tractors, engines, and Frank's reputation. They looked at Riggs, then at Talia. Whispers started. Doubt followed. "Frank, you got maybe 40 grand of harvest depending on that engine, and you let a drifter with a toolbox play hero?" Talia glanced at Riggs. His expression didn't change. He just wiped his hands on an old rag and stepped back. Riggs, quietly, didn't mean to step on toes. Frank took that as permission to barge in, tossing Riggs a smug grin as he leaned into the engine compartment. Talia, reluctantly, "Maybe it's best. Just let Frank handle it." Riggs gave a small nod, no trace of anger. He packed up his tools in silence. The crowd shifted. No one said thank you. No one met his eyes. But Talia did, and something inside her felt wrong. Frank dove into the engine like a showman, wiping non-existent sweat from his brow and muttering just loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear. "Frank, yep, fuel injection's toast. Maybe the crankshaft too. Gonna need a tow. 3 days minimum. Could be a week." He clucked his tongue and shook his head as if the machine had personally offended him. "Frank, I'd say 5 grand easy. That's if parts come in on time." Talia's face drained of color. She stepped back, clutching her arms. The storm warning had said it could hit by tomorrow night. If she didn't get the harvest in before then, she'd lose it all. And with it the land. Talia, under her breath, Dad spent his life saving this place. Frank was still going, outlining worst-case scenarios like he was reading off a menu. Riggs, already walking away, paused near the gate. He had no right to interfere again, he knew that. But something in Frank's tone rubbed at him, like sand in an old wound. Worse, he could hear the lie. He'd seen that engine up close. He knew it wasn't the crankshaft. Then came her voice. Talia, quietly, barely audible. "Please, this farm is all I have left of my dad." Riggs stopped. He stared out at the field. Rows of unharvested crops rippled in the breeze like a ticking clock. He turned his head just enough to see her face, strained, scared, trying to stay composed. He took a long breath, the kind that gathers dust and memories. Then, without a word, he set his old toolbox back down. The farmhands noticed. Frank scoffed. But Talia saw it before anyone else, the slight change in Riggs's stance. He wasn't walking away anymore. He was stepping up. Riggs stepped forward, quiet but steady. He didn't puff his chest or raise his voice. He just spoke. "Riggs, I can fix it." The chatter stopped cold. All eyes turned. Frank barked a laugh sharp enough to cut through metal. "Frank, you're still here? What is this, some charity case?" Riggs didn't flinch. He looked straight ahead, voice firm but level. "Riggs, 10 years as a military mechanic. 3 tours overseas. I've repaired Humvee's Black Hawk's tanks with bullets flying. This engine? It's not dead. It's misfiring." A hush followed. Then a slow shuffle of boots from the edge of the group. It was Mr. Vernon, oldest of the farmhands. Wrinkled, slow-moving, but sharp as ever. He stepped forward, nodded toward Riggs. "Mr. Vernon, let the man try. We got nothing but rain to lose." Talia looked between them, between the familiar disaster and the quiet stranger offering something she hadn't felt in days, a sliver of hope. She hesitated, then spoke, voice trembling but resolute. "Talia, 1 hour. That's all I can spare." "Frank, what? You can't be serious." She cut him off without turning. "Talia, 1 hour." Frank threw his hands up and stormed off, muttering under his breath. Riggs nodded once, no smugness, no performance. Just purpose. He walked calmly back to the tractor and opened his toolkit, hands moving like they remembered every bolt and every heartbeat from a past life. The crowd lingered, watching, skepticism thick in the air. But Riggs didn't notice them anymore. He had 60 minutes. If he failed, he'd disappear, just another ghost on the road. But if he didn't, well, that tractor might just live again. And so might something inside him. The sun dipped below the hills, casting long shadows over the fields of Greenwood Valley. As the cold crept in, Riggs remained, kneeling beside the tractor, sleeves rolled, hands moving with quiet certainty. The crowd thinned. Most went home muttering bets on how long before he gave up. But Riggs wasn't guessing. He knew what he was doing. His toolkit opened like a memory box, everything in place, every wrench polished, every gauge tested. This wasn't a man playing at something. This was a soldier returning to form. Talia, still in disbelief, watched from the porch, arms crossed against the chill. As the hours passed, she made her way over with a mug of coffee, steaming in the wind. Talia still at it. Riggs took it with a nod, not pausing his work. Riggs, compressions off. Carbs gummed. Someone messed with the fuel line too. Talia sat nearby, on an overturned bucket, silent for a beat. Talia, why help? You could have just kept walking. Riggs tightened a bolt, eyes on the machine. Riggs, people stop seeing you when you're down. Doesn't mean I forgot who I am. That landed heavier than she expected. She studied him, really studied him, for the first time. The weathered face, the steady hands, the quiet dignity that had nothing to do with appearances. Talia, you remind me of my dad. Riggs didn't react much, just the faintest flicker of his eyes. Then he leaned in, started adjusting the ignition coil. The stars came out. The wind picked up. And still he worked. Talia didn't go back inside. She stayed with him. Not because she didn't trust him, but because, for the first time in a long while, she believed in him. The first light of dawn broke gently over Greenwood Valley. The fields glistened with dew, untouched, waiting. Riggs gave the ignition one last twist. The tractor sputtered, coughed, then roared. The engine purred, strong, clean, alive. Inside the farmhouse, Talia dropped her coffee. She ran outside in her robe, barefoot on the cold porch, her eyes wide in disbelief. Talia, it's running. Riggs stepped back, wiping his hands on an old rag. She's not just running, she's ready. The sound pulled others from their homes. One by one, the farm hands returned, drawn by the impossible noise. Even Mr. Vernon, cane in hand, limped closer with a rare smile creeping across his face. He gave Riggs a single nod, silent approval from a man who rarely offered it. Then came Frank. Tires screeched. His truck rumbled down the dirt road, and he jumped out with his arms flailing. Frank, what the hell is this? No one answered. Frank stormed over, eyes darting between the purring tractor and Riggs' calm expression. Frank, you touch my work. Riggs didn't flinch. Riggs, fuel injection was clogged. Timing belt loose. Vacuum leak near the intake. You'd have charged your thousands and still gotten wrong. Frank's mouth opened, but no words came out. The farmhands murmured. Some laughed under their breath. Talia looked at Riggs like she was seeing him anew. Talia, you saved the harvest. Riggs shrugged. Just needed someone to look under the hood. And for the first time in years, as the rising sun cast gold over that old field, Jonas, Riggs, Carter stood in the warmth of gratitude. Not as a drifter, not as a burden, but as a hero. The buzz of the working tractor still echoed across the fields when a sudden hush fell over the crowd. Engines, black SUVs, flashing lights. A sleek motorcade rumbled up the dirt road, tires crunching gravel. It was so out of place in Greenwood Valley that the entire farm froze. Talia blinked. What on earth? Doors opened. Men in suits emerged, security detail in dark sunglasses scanning the field. A few farmhands instinctively stepped back. Then, from the center SUV, a tall, silver-haired man stepped out. Governor Ellis Rowan. In a press suit and work boots, He surveyed the gathering like a general arriving at an unexpected battlefield. "Governor Rowan, I'm looking for Jonas Carter." Gasps. A few people looked at each other, confused. Talia turned slowly toward Riggs. Riggs stiffened, his hand tightening around the wrench, still tucked in his belt. His calm shattered just slightly. His name, hadn't been spoken like that in years. He took an uncertain step back. "Riggs, Governor." Rowan smiled faintly, walking straight toward him. "Governor Rowan, you didn't expect me. That's all right. I didn't expect to find you fixing tractors either." Riggs glanced at the crowd. Dozens of eyes were now locked on him, not in judgment this time, but in disbelief. "Mr. Vernon, what's going on?" The governor extended a hand. "Governor Rowan, we served together, and I owe you a hell of a lot more than a handshake." Murmurs rippled through the group. Talia stepped forward, stunned. "You know each other." "Governor Rowan, he saved my life. Twice." Silence. Then awe. Riggs, humble and disoriented, shook the governor's hand. But the look in his eyes said it all. The past he tried to outrun had finally caught up. And it wasn't done with him yet.